My brother demanded I hand over my inheritance because he was the man of the family, and I was just a woman. When I refused, he showed up at the lawyer's office with a fake will, smirking, "You won't have a choice soon." But as the lawyer opened the safe and pulled out the real documents, his face went pale, and the words I spoke next left him stuttering in panic. This happened a few years ago, but the revenge part took time. I waited until everything was legally finalized before telling this story. It's long, but worth it. For context, I, female, 47 now, grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm the youngest of 4 siblings. 3 older brothers. All of them loud, competitive, and always convinced they knew better. Me? Quiet. I stayed in the background most of my life. Not because I was weak, but because I knew how to observe. Our family owned a hardware store since the 1960s. It was passed down from my grandpa to my dad. My brothers helped out occasionally, but I was the only one who worked there consistently from age 13 until college. I also stayed local when my parents got older. My brothers moved away, 2 out of state, 1 overseas for a while. I stayed and took care of our parents, especially my dad, during his last few years when his health declined. My oldest brother, Marcus, not his real name, always acted like he was superior. He was the firstborn son, which apparently gave him license to treat everyone like a servant. Growing up, he got everything he asked for. My parents gave him more leeway, and he always talked over everyone. When Dad passed away in 2016, Marcus acted like he had just inherited a throne. Right after the funeral, he pulled me aside in my parents' kitchen and said, "Let's talk about the house and the business. You know I'll be taking over, right?" I just stared at him. We had already discussed Dad's will. Years earlier. My dad made it very clear his estate would be split evenly. And he specifically left me the house. I said, "You were at the meeting with the lawyer." Dad was clear. Marcus laughed and said, "That was years ago. Things change. I'm the man of the family now. It wouldn't make sense for you to run things." I didn't argue. Just said, "Talk to Mr. Carlisle if you have questions." Mr. Carlisle was our family lawyer. Fast forward 2 weeks. We meet at the law office to start the estate process. Marcus walks in wearing a cheap suit like he's going to court, trying to look important. The rest of us, me and my other 2 brothers, just dressed casually. We all sit down, and Mr. Carlisle goes over the details. Estate value, around $850,000. Mostly cash from the sale of the store a few years before Dad died. Each of the 4 of us gets an equal share. Dad's house goes to me. Everything was already set up in a trust. Clean and simple. Marcus didn't say a word during the meeting. Just nodded with a tight smile. But I could see it. His jaw was clenched. His eyes weren't blinking. After the meeting, he tried to catch me outside. "You don't even need that house," he said. "What are you going to do with it? You're not married. You don't have kids." I said, "It's mine. Dad gave it to me." He stared at me like he didn't understand the word "no." It's not fair. I'm the one who should carry the legacy. You think Dad actually meant that? It was probably a mistake. I didn't respond. I just walked to my car and drove away. I thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. A few days later, Mr. Carlisle called me and said Marcus had shown up unexpectedly with another will. I went in to meet him. When I arrived, Marcus was already sitting in the conference room, arms folded, with a smug look on his face. He handed Mr. Carlisle a document. Said it was a more recent version of Dad's will. Let me tell you something. It was bad. Not just morally bad, sloppy. The font didn't match any legal template. There was no notary stamp. Dad's signature looked scanned. The witnesses were listed as people I had never even heard of. The wording made it seem like Dad had written it in a hurry. This new will said Marcus would receive the house and half the estate. The other 3 of us would split the remaining half. I watched Mr. Carlisle open his safe. He pulled out the original will. Then he placed 3 notarized copies on the table. He looked at Marcus and said, very calmly, "This is the legal version. Signed, notarized, witnessed, and filed. Yours is not valid." Marcus froze. He tried to recover, saying something like, "Well, Dad changed his mind, but maybe he forgot to update everything." Mr. Carlisle didn't flinch. "This document you brought would be considered fraudulent. I strongly advise you to walk away." Marcus didn't move. Just sat there, shaking slightly, his eyes darting between me and the lawyer. I didn't say a word. I just stared at him until he stood up and left without another word. After he left, Mr. Carlisle looked at me and said, "You want to report this?" I said, "Absolutely." We documented everything. Mr. Carlisle filed a legal report on attempted fraud. Marcus was contacted by an investigator later. He claimed it was a misunderstanding. Said he found the will in a drawer. Nothing came of it legally, but it was officially on record. Now, most people would have stopped there. But I wasn't done. He didn't just try to take money. He tried to erase my role in Dad's life. Pretended like I hadn't taken care of him. Pretended like I didn't exist. That wasn't going to fly. So I started watching him. We have a cousin, Amy, who works in finance. She owed me a favor. I asked her to discreetly check on Marcus's finances. Nothing illegal. Just basic public records. Turns out, Marcus had already blown through most of his share of the inheritance. Gambling. Some failed investments. New truck he didn't need. A vacation with a girlfriend who dumped him the month after they got back. But the real gem? He had been talking on Facebook about buying a dream house in Charleston, bragging about how he was going to turn it into a short-term rental. It was an old colonial home that was half renovated, and he was trying to line up financing. I called the seller directly. Didn't mention who I was. I asked about the house, said I was interested. They said they had another potential buyer but hadn't locked it down. So I made a full cash offer. Closed in 9 days. I never even intended to move there. I just wanted the house off the market. After the sale was complete, I posted a photo on Facebook, just me, holding a cup of coffee, on the front porch. The location tag showed the address. He saw it. He commented, "You've got to be kidding me." Then deleted his comment. Then deleted his Facebook. After that, I didn't hear from him for a while. 2 years later, I needed to update some paperwork for my own house, moving it into a trust, for tax purposes. I went back to Mr. Carlisle's office. As we're wrapping up, the receptionist says someone is asking to speak to me. It's Marcus. He showed up unannounced. He looked tired, thinner than I remembered. Wearing the same cheap suit from 2 years earlier. He walked into the office and asked if he could talk to me privately. I said no. Mr. Carlisle stayed. Marcus started with, "Look, I made mistakes. But I need help." That house meant everything to me. I stayed quiet. He kept going. "I'm struggling. I've got debts. I thought I'd be in a better place. The house would have helped." I said, "You tried to steal from me. From our family. You forged a will." He said, "I just wanted a fair shot." I said, "You had your shot. You used it to lie and cheat. Now you want to cry about consequences?" His voice cracked. "I didn't think you'd take it this far." Mr. Carlisle, stone cold, said, "She didn't take it far enough." I pulled out an envelope and slid it across the table. Restraining order paperwork. Filed and signed. Marcus opened it, scanned the pages, and went pale again. Same look as last time. He stood up and left. Didn't say goodbye. Just walked out like a balloon with the air punched out. I haven't seen him since. But that's not the end. Not yet. I've been holding on to one last move. And when I make it, he'll never forget it. After that day in Mr. Carlisle's office, I didn't expect to hear from Marcus again. I was wrong. About 3 months later, I got a call from my other brother, Ray. He said Marcus had shown up at his place in Pittsburgh unannounced, asking for a loan. Ray and Marcus never got along well, but Ray's the kind of guy who doesn't like confrontation. He didn't want to help, but he didn't want to fight either. He gave Marcus a couple $100 just to get him out the door. Then Marcus started calling our youngest brother, Eric, who lives in Austin. Same story. Said he was in a tough place. That he was being frozen out by the family. That I had turned everyone against him. Eric didn't fall for it. He told him straight up, "You brought this on yourself." Marcus got nasty after that. Started sending texts, rude, unhinged ones. He sent me a few, too. Stuff like, "You think you're better than everyone just because you sat by Dad's bed while he died. You're not. You stole from me. This isn't over." I ignored them. Blocked his number. I figured he was just spiraling and needed to scream into the void. But then something else happened. He tried to sell the Charleston house. My Charleston house. I got an alert from the county recorder's office about a title change request. I have those alerts set up as part of my trust setup. When I saw it, I nearly laughed out loud. He had actually filed a fake quitclaim deed, trying to transfer the house to his name. It didn't go through, of course. The trust owns the property. Everything was locked up tight legally. But it made one thing clear, Marcus hadn't learned a damn thing. I called Mr. Carlisle. He filed a formal complaint immediately. The county flagged Marcus's name for fraud attempts. Now I was angry. Not shaken. Not scared. Just done playing nice. That's when I started looking into something I had avoided for years. Dad's old business records. The hardware store was sold before he died, but Dad kept meticulous records for everything. I went through the old boxes in my basement, receipts, ledgers, tax filings, notes. I wasn't sure what I was even looking for at first. But then I found something. A list. Handwritten. With initials next to various entries. ML, Marcus Lawson. It was a record of borrowed money. Tens of thousands of dollars. Some entries had paid next to them. Some didn't. The biggest entry? $15,000. Next to it, in red pen, Dad had written, "Never repaid." Asked 3x. Lied each time. I stared at that page for a long time. It wasn't just money. It was betrayal. My dad knew Marcus was lying to him. And he kept track of it. Quietly. Patiently. Like me. I made copies of the notes. Put them in a folder. I didn't know what I'd do with them yet. But I knew I'd use them. Then, out of nowhere, I got an email. From Marcus. It was short. No greeting. Just, "I know what you're doing. Stop before it gets worse for you." No name. No threats spelled out. But I could read between the lines. I replied, "I have every document. Every receipt. Every message. You forged a will. You tried to steal property. You falsified a deed. If you want to keep digging this hole, go ahead." I didn't hear back. But the next day, my front door security camera picked up something strange. A car I didn't recognize stopped in front of my house late at night. Sat there for almost 15 minutes. Lights off. Engine running. Then it drove off. I downloaded the footage. Got a plate number. Sent it to Mr. Carlisle, just in case. I also installed new locks, even though I already had an alarm system. And cameras. And motion lights. And a dog who doesn't like strangers. Still, it was a shift. This was no longer about money. Marcus was getting desperate. But desperate people make mistakes. A week later, I got a call from Amy, our cousin in finance. She said, "You're not going to believe this." Turns out, Marcus had tried to take out a business loan using fake assets. He claimed to own property, including my house in Charleston, and submitted forged paperwork showing it as collateral. It triggered a fraud alert at the bank. Not only that, but he also listed me as a silent investor in his application. That crossed the line. Mr. Carlisle immediately began preparing a full report to send to law enforcement. We had all the evidence. Every fake deed, every document, every communication. But while we were doing that, I found something else. Something that changed everything. It was an old voicemail on Dad's answering machine. I had saved it years ago when I was cleaning out the house. I hadn't listened to it since. It was Marcus. The message was from 2 years before Dad passed. His voice was slurred. He sounded drunk. Angry. He said, "You think just because I moved out I don't deserve anything? I'm still your son. I'm still the one who should get the store." Long pause. "You're giving her the house? That ungrateful brat? You owe me. You'll see. I'll take what's mine one way or another." That voicemail had a time and date stamp. It was gold. And I knew exactly what to do with it. But I wasn't going to act yet. Not until Marcus made his next move. Because he always does. 2 weeks went by. Quiet. Too quiet. Then, I got a call from a real estate agent in Charleston. A very confused woman named Tanya. She said, "Hi, I just wanted to confirm a few things. A man named Marcus Lawson contacted our office. He said he's the owner of your property on Beaufane Street and wants to list it. He even gave us a scanned deed." I took a deep breath. I asked her to forward me what he sent. She did. And there it was. Another fake deed. This time, it even had a forged signature that looked disturbingly close to mine. But the best part? He included a note in the email. The previous deed had a clerical error. This version has been corrected. My sister relinquished the title to me in 2021. I'm acting as the primary owner. He signed it. Marcus Lawson, executor of the Lawson estate. First of all, Dad didn't even make him the executor. That was me. I called Mr. Carlisle again. He was silent for a moment, then said, "We're done playing nice. We're filing." By that afternoon, we had sent a cease and desist to the real estate office, notified the Charleston County Clerk, and prepared an affidavit to attach to the property's title warning of ongoing fraud attempts. The county flagged Marcus's name permanently. We submitted everything, this time to the state attorney general's office. We had layers of proof now: forged documents, impersonation, false filings, financial fraud, property fraud, and now attempted real estate fraud across state lines. And yet, somehow, he didn't stop. That weekend, I got a call from Ray again. He was at his wit's end. "Marcus just showed up here again," he said. "He's talking about suing all of us. Says Dad promised him everything verbally and that he's gathering witnesses. Said he'll prove he was supposed to get it all." I asked, "Witnesses?" Ray sighed. "He's reaching out to old friends. Trying to get them to say they overheard Dad say things about taking care of Marcus." I didn't laugh. But I wanted to. That's not how it works. Verbal promises don't override legal wills, especially when there's documentation, witnesses, notaries, and official filings. But Marcus was unraveling now. Desperate men will say anything if they think it'll stick. But then came the twist I really didn't see coming. Ray told me Marcus had started seeing someone new. A woman named Brenda. Brenda, apparently, worked as a paralegal at a small firm in Dayton. She wasn't a lawyer, but she had just enough legal knowledge to make Marcus believe they had a chance at challenging the will again. I looked her up. Public Facebook profile. Tons of posts about men's rights, weird conspiracy theories, and long rants about how family court destroys fathers. Lovely. The next thing I know, I get a certified letter at my door. Sent by Brenda on her firm's letterhead. It was full of legal-sounding nonsense. Claimed Marcus was reopening the estate, and that previous documents were improperly executed, and that he would be filing a petition to reclaim misallocated assets. At the bottom, it said, "We request a formal accounting of all assets previously distributed, including but not limited to real estate, cash, and personal property, within 14 business days." Mr. Carlyle reviewed it. This woman isn't even licensed. She doesn't have standing. This isn't a court document. This is theater. But it didn't matter. Marcus was trying to look like he had legal backing. He was trying to shake me, make me afraid, wear me down. Instead, he made me dig deeper. See, I remembered something from when I helped Dad sort through taxes one year. He had a drawer labeled emergency. Inside were flash drives, CDs, and old VHS tapes. I had stored them in my attic after he passed, but never went through them. Now I did. Most of it was old home videos. Some were ancient tax files. But one folder on a flash drive caught my eye. Labeled, "For court if ever needed." I clicked it. Inside? Scans of every loan Marcus ever took from Dad. Notes Marcus wrote promising to repay. A typed letter where Dad said, "Marcus has never honored repayment terms and is not to be trusted with financial matters." It also included screenshots of texts. One from 2013. "Marcus, I know I missed the payment. I just need more time. Don't make it a big deal. Dad, it's not about the money. It's about your lies." Another from 2015. "Marcus, don't worry about the house. I don't want it anyway. Let my name have it. She earned it." Let that sink in. Marcus, in writing, had acknowledged the inheritance plan. He said it himself. I sent a copy of everything to Mr. Carlyle. We updated the fraud report with the AG. This wasn't just petty lies anymore. This was a pattern. Years of manipulation. Now fully documented. But the final twist? Brenda, Marcus's new girlfriend, got fired. Apparently, someone sent her letter to her firm's managing partner. It wasn't me. I never sent anything. But someone did. Maybe it was Mr. Carlyle. Maybe it was someone else at the county office. The firm didn't like having their letterhead used without approval. She was let go. I heard through Ray, who heard through Eric, that Brenda moved out of Marcus's apartment a week later. And then, he called me. Blocked number. I answered out of curiosity. His voice was flat. "You win," he said. I didn't speak. I lost everything. Brenda's gone. I can't get a loan anywhere. I've been blacklisted. I can't even get a credit card. I waited. Then he said it. "You happy now?" Still, I didn't answer. He hung up. And that's where things stand. For now. About a month after that last call, I thought things were over. Marcus had finally hit rock bottom. No money. No girlfriend. No more fake legal moves. But I knew better than to assume it was finished. It wasn't. Out of nowhere, I got an invite to a memorial event. A community center downtown was organizing a small ceremony for my dad. Turns out, someone he mentored years ago, an old employee from the hardware store, was dedicating a plaque to him in their local legends corner. I was touched. Honestly, I didn't even know people outside the family still remembered him that way. They asked me to say a few words. I agreed. The day came. I wore Dad's old watch, the same one he used to check 10 times a day while running the store. Mr. Carlyle came. Ray and Eric came too. It was a small group. Maybe 30 people, a few familiar faces from the old neighborhood. About 15 minutes into the event, someone slipped in through the back. Marcus. He looked like hell. Thinner than before. Suit wrinkled. Eyes bloodshot. He stood in the corner, arms crossed, staring at me like he was waiting for something. I ignored him. When it was my turn to speak, I walked to the front, took the mic, and started. I didn't talk about the will, or the house, or the money. I talked about how Dad taught me to keep receipts for everything literal and emotional. That he believed people showed their true selves when they thought no one was watching. I said, my father believed in second chances. He gave a lot of them. Maybe too many. But he also believed that at some point, a person has to face what they've done and what they've become. I looked up, and I met Marcus's eyes. He flinched. Afterward, while people were having coffee and cookies, Marcus walked over. Mr. Carlyle saw him coming and stepped toward me, but I held out my hand. Let him. Marcus stood in front of me, jaw tight. Then his voice cracked. You embarrassed me in front of everyone, he said. I tilted my head. I said nothing about you. He shook his head. You didn't have to. You've been doing it since Dad died. You took everything and made me look like a failure. Ray walked over, overhearing. Marcus, you did that on your own. Marcus ignored him. You want the truth? You were always Dad's favorite. Even when I helped him build the store. Even when I was the one out there trying to make something of myself. You stayed here, played nurse, and suddenly you're the golden child. I said, you think wiping someone's mouth and helping them to the bathroom is easy? He stared at me. You think holding a dying man's hand while he cries in pain is some kind of power play? He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. I kept going. You weren't around. Not once. You didn't call. You didn't check in. You just showed up for the funeral and assumed Dad would reward you like always. His face started to redden. His voice rose. I didn't come to argue. I came to say you ruined me. You used that lawyer to tear down everything I had. You made sure I had nothing left. Mr. Carlyle, from behind me, spoke. Calm and firm. She didn't ruin you. You forged legal documents. You tried to steal property. You used someone's death as a springboard for your own gain. You did this. Marcus turned to him, eyes wild. Yeah? You think you're some kind of saint? You always took her side. You let her twist everything. Ray stepped forward, now angry. Enough, Marcus. You tried to drag us all into your mess. You went after our sister. You thought being born first made you the king. But guess what? No one bowed. Marcus took one step back, then another. He looked around and realized everyone was watching. Eric stood near the food table, shook his head. Walk away, man. Before you do something worse. Marcus turned slowly. His shoulders slumped. He left. Didn't say goodbye. Didn't look back. Just pushed through the door and vanished into the afternoon light. The room was quiet. For a few seconds, no one moved. Then Mr. Carlyle broke the silence. If he ever tries to contact you again, we're escalating. I nodded. But the truth? That was the last time I saw Marcus in person. The fallout after that was heavy. Ray told me he felt guilty for giving Marcus money that first time. Eric admitted he'd blocked his number weeks ago, sick of the guilt trips. Even Mr. Carlyle looked exhausted. I went home that night and sat in the living room, in the chair Dad always used. I stared at the fireplace. No music. No lights on except the one above me. And I felt it. All of it. Anger. Sadness. Relief. And this weird ache that I couldn't quite place. Not regret. But something close. Like mourning something that never really existed. I wanted a big family. I wanted to believe blood mattered more than behavior. But sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the person you share a childhood with turns into a stranger. Sometimes that stranger wants to burn you down just to feel warm. But I survived. And now? The house is still mine. The estate is closed. The Charleston place is a rental now, bringing in steady income. I use some of that money to fund a local nonprofit that helps women dealing with financial abuse. That's what Dad would have wanted. Ray and Eric and I talk more now. We even do Sunday dinners every other month. Nothing fancy. Just pizza, laughter, and no pretending. Marcus never reached out again. Sometimes I wonder where he is. If he's working. If he ever tells people about me, or if he pretends I don't exist. But I don't check anymore. I don't chase ghosts. Some stories don't need neat endings. They just need to stop. And this one has.